To take revenge, a doctor kidnaps a boy and transforms him from a boy into a girl through surgery. But what did the boy do? Let's find out. So, in the beginning of the story, a plastic surgeon named Robert is shown giving a lecture at a local university in Spain, where Robert was telling that till now, only 9 face transplants have been done in the whole world, and he has participated in 3 of those 9 face transplant surgeries. While going home after the lecture, he stops in front of a hospital and bribes an employee to take a bag of blood. Actually, Robert was doing an illegal experiment on a woman named Ware A at his home, about which he had not told anyone. Robert had locked Waria in a room of his house. Waria always wore a full bodysuit. She had nothing to do in that locked room, so to keep herself busy, she used to do yoga, read books, and tear her clothes to make scary dolls. A mute woman used to bring food for her from time to time. Apart from this, if Vera needed anything else, she used to ask Robert's mobile number, Marilla, through the voice communicator installed in the room. When Robert came back home, the first thing he did was to put the blood he had brought with him into a machine in the lab. After this, he would go to his room and look at Vera through a hidden camera. When he found everything to be all right, he would go to Vera. But one evening when he came back home, he was shocked. Actually, Vera knew where the camera was placed, so to avoid the camera, she injured her body with the pages of a book. When the doctor went to her, he saw that she had cuts all over her body. There were wound marks. He quickly brings Vairagya to his private operating room and starts treating her. Vairagya tells Robert she would rather die than live in this cage. While treating her, the doctor thinks if she truly wanted to die, the wounds would be elsewhere. After this, Robert starts an experiment to make artificial skin, in which he needed animal blood, and surprisingly, after a few days, his experiment becomes successful, and now Robert Artisan became the sole inventor. The specialty of this skin was that neither any insect could bite it nor could it burn in fire. Here, Robert replaces Artisan with Vairagya natural skin and tells him that now his skin will never get hurt, and neither will anyone bite his skin much. But asceticism feels terrible on the skin. After a few days, Robert presents this artificial skin in a medical museum and falsely claims success in experimenting on animals, though he actually tested it on humans. He tells that this skin can never have a serious disease like malaria. Robert names his skin invention Cinderella after his wife who died in a car accident. After his lecture is over, the president of that organization takes him aside and asks him how he made this artificial skin so hard that this skin is safe from malaria, as the president of the organization felt that the skin was different from normal skin. Here Robert is unable to lie to him. He tells him that he has taken genetic information from the big cell and put it into human cells. Now, even though Robert had made a miraculous discovery, the president does not stand in his support, and he orders Robert to stop all his research. After this, Robert goes to his friend Mark and tells him everything. Mark tells him that he should return to his old surgery work. When Robert reaches home from here, after watching Vera on the screen for a while, he goes to meet him and tells him that your work is over now. Now you are completely fine and your body does not need any further improvement. Hearing this, Vera thanks him and thinks in her mind that now she will be able to live a normal life. She tries to get intimate with Robert so that Robert frees her from this captivity. But Robert feels uncomfortable and goes away from there. The next day, Marialia tells Robert about Waria, that Waria is very dangerous, so you should kill him. But Robert ignores Marialia's words and tells her to fire all the other servants of the house, because now they do not need so many people. After Robert and the servants leave, a man dressed as a tiger rings the doorbell, who was Malaria's son, Zika. Zika identifies himself by showing his birthmark on the camera. Then Malaria comes out and stops him from going inside the house, as visitors are not allowed there. But Zaka forcibly enters the house, and Malia does not say anything to him, thinking that she will make Zika sit in the kitchen. In the kitchen, she gives something to eat to Zaka. At the same time, news of a robbery in a jewelry shop was being shown on TV. Seeing this, Marignia understands that Zakaya has come here not to meet her, but to hide from the police because due to his costume, the police could not catch him in the carnival crowd. Then he tells Zacamilia that I want Robert to change my face by doing surgery on my face so that no one can recognize me, on which Marignia tells him that Robert will never do this and quickly asks him to leave from there. After this, Zaka starts looking for alcohol in the kitchen. Then suddenly his eyes fall on the security camera in which he sees Vairagya doing yoga. Seeing Vairagya's face, he recognizes her and wonders how she is here because she was already dead. Here, Marilia takes out a gun hidden in the kitchen and asks Zaka to leave from there. But Zeka jumps on her and snatches the gun from her hand and ties her to a chair and starts going upstairs to Warehouse's room. But seeing Warehouse's door locked, he comes back to his mother and threatens her and takes the key from her. But as soon as he opens the door, she kicks him in self-defense. She tries very hard to free herself from his grip, but Zaka is stronger than her. He gains control, lifts her, and takes her to the bed, where he starts forcing himself on Wariah. Meanwhile, Robert suddenly returns home and sees everything on the security camera. In anger, he grabs his gun and heads to Wariah's house, where he shoots Zaka. Seeing this, Marilia wishes he had killed Wariah as well. After this, Robert takes Zaka's body from there to dispose it off. Then Mara tells Vera about Robert and Zika, that they were illegitimate brothers. She tells Vera that Zika was born to a servant, but when he was in the womb, the servant left her. Whereas she had Robert from her previous master. Her master took that child and gave it to his infertile wife and told everyone that his wife had given birth to that child. Thus, legally both of them were his parents, but Marilia had affection for Robert in her heart, so she raised him with her own hands. Here Varagya asks Marilia why Zaka thought that he knew her. Then Marilia tells her that she looks like Robert's wife Cinderella. Here she also tells Varagya that Zika was brought up on the streets away from his mother, so he got spoiled, and one day he suddenly came home to escape from the police and started asking for help from his mother. But then Cinderella saw him and fell in love with him at first sight. After a few days, both of them ran away from home, but unfortunately, due to an accident, Zaka was saved, but Cinderella's face was badly damaged. Then Robert somehow brought Cinderella home in his arms and hid all the mirrors in the house so that Cinderella could not see her burnt face. One day, Cinderella hears her daughter singing outside and starts going towards the window to see her. Then she sees her face in the window mirror, which had become very scary due to burning. She could not bear this scary face of hers, and she jumped from the window and gave up her life, while her daughter went into shock due to her mother's death. Now, when Mariah was telling all this to Vera, Robert returns after burying Zika's body and accepts Varagya's offer and tells her about it. After a while, Robert gets a dream in which he sees the same painful incident which happened 6 years ago when he attended a wedding with his daughter Normal. The medicines that were given to his daughter to help her recover from the shock of her mother's death had made her look like a normal teenager. The party was going on in full swing. Robert notices that Normal is not in the party, so he goes to the garden to look for her. On reaching there, he sees a boy going very fast on a bike. Then Robert finds Normal's shoes and coat lying on the ground. Following those items, he arrives at the spot where Normal was lying unconscious. Her clothes were disheveled. It didn't take long for Robert to realize what the biker had done to Normal. When Normal regains consciousness, she starts screaming loudly, mistaking her father Robert for an attacker. After this, in the present, we see that Vara also sees the same incident in her dream. She sees that a young boy named Wilson is working with his mother in a dress shop. One day he attends a party. Suddenly seeing Vincent Normal in the party, he tries to flirt with her. He takes her to the garden. Norma felt very hot in the garden, so she takes off her coat and shoes. But Wilson feels that Normal is giving him a signal. He tries to get close to her. At first, Normal feels okay, but when a specific song starts playing in the wedding band, she screams loudly. This was the same song she sang in childhood, which led to her mother's death. Winston slaps him and quickly fixes his clothes and runs away from there. He was unaware that Robert has seen the license plate of his bike. After a few days, when Vincent was going somewhere on his bike, Robert, wearing a costume, hits his bike with his van and makes him fall. After this, Robert shoots an anesthesia injection at him, due to which Vincent falls unconscious. Robert takes him to the old garage of his house and demands help from him. When Vincent starts shouting at him, Robert sprays water on him from a water pipe. In the evening, Robert gives Wilson only rice and water to eat. Wilson's mother goes to the police station to inquire about her son. The police officer tells her that they found Wilson's bike near the top of the mountain, leading them to believe that Wilson either fell to his death from the mountain or left the city. Robert visits the mental hospital to see his daughter Normal, but she is still afraid of him, because she felt that Robert had tried to force himself on her. Suddenly one day she also commits suicide like her mother, and due to this incident, Robert turns from a normal doctor into a mad scientist. A few days after Noma's funeral, he comes home and saves all of Wilson's hair and beard. After this, he makes him unconscious and takes him to his operating room, and with the help of Mark and his two fellow doctors, he performs Vincent's gender change surgery. To convince his fellow doctors, Robert shows them a fake payslip in which it is written that the patient does not want to go to the clinic because he wants to keep this thing a secret, due to which the doctors believe him. When the person wakes up after a few hours, he finds himself alone in a closed room. From then on, he lives as a prisoner in Robert's house and starts thinking about his new private part, so that he can recover quickly. As soon as his private part area heals, Robert starts working on giving his body a more feminine look. He also gives him a womanly chest and high-pitched voice, and from then on he starts wearing wind-scent full bodysuit because Robert thought that this will keep his new skin safe and will also help in shaping his new body. Now on the first day in that room, Vincent tries to escape from there by hitting Robert, but Robert has already prepared for this. When Vincent starts to open the door, Robert takes out his gun and threatens him to go back to the room. Vincent is forced to go back to the room. After a few weeks, Vincent undergoes the last procedure of women's surgery. Robert gives him the face of his dead wife, Cinderella. Here, Robert gives Einstein a new name, Vera. Now, for the first few days, Vera opposes Robert by tearing the clothes given by Robert and ruining the makeup, and keeps only one eyeliner with her. In that room, she had only one TV and used it to learn yoga and make scary dolls by tearing her clothes. After a few days, Robert called his mother, Maria, to the house to fulfill the need of a woman for Pal, who was looking after Varajia. From here, the story comes to the present. Robert and Waraya were now living very happily. One day, Waraya goes shopping with Malaria. As soon as they leave the house, Robert's friend Marga comes to meet her. Mark shows her today's newspaper in which Vincent's disappearance was reported along with many other people. Now, since Mark had seen Vincent during the operation, he recognizes Vera and asks Robert why he lied to him. On this, Robert takes out his gun and tries to threaten her. Suddenly, Waria arrives there and their conversation is interrupted. Waria tells Marg that she had given her full consent for the operation. Hearing this, he leaves. In the evening, Waria and Robert come close to each other again, but here Waria was still in pain due to Zaka's attack. She goes out to bring the screen. Taking advantage of the opportunity, she hides Robert's gun and brings it with her to take her revenge. Afterward, she tells Robert, "You have ruined my whole life," and immediately shoots him. Downstairs, Mirinia hears the gunshot and grabs her gun. Varagya is sitting downstairs waiting for her to come. As soon as she enters the room, Wara shoots her too. When everything is over and Wara is free, she leaves with some clothes and money. The next day she reaches her mother's shop, and to prove her identity, she tells her all the things that only Vincent knew. Hearing this, her mother is shocked, and Vincent and his mother both become